Are you a fearful avoidant attachment style individual who tends to start off really strong when dating? Maybe you have an amazing first date, or you usually really excel in the first few weeks of dating. You enjoy your time, you get to know somebody, and you feel like that attraction and momentum is building really strongly and really well overall. But then often you find yourself across time starting to withdraw, losing interest, feeling like for whatever reason that spark just dies off. And in fact, it can actually happen quite suddenly for you, causing you to feel like you just want to leave a situation altogether, stop communicating, and really just feel shut off all of a sudden. If this sounds like you, it may be that you have boundary issues while dating. I'm going to share with you in this video 5 really important boundaries to pay attention to when it comes to dating so that you can date, have that momentum build, but not get caught in these all or nothing patterns in your dating life that can help you actually have quality dating experiences across time more often, instead of feeling like you get into these sort of self-sabotage modes when you haven't been paying attention to your own boundaries and personal domain. So, number 1 boundary to set when dating is to not allow caretaking for other people's emotions to be the basis of your romantic connection. What do I mean by that? Well, it's very common for fearful avoidant attachment style individuals to start dating and to bond emotionally, because fearful avoidants are generally really looking for deep emotional connection. But sometimes that bonding emotionally can be you really getting somebody else to open up and then you not feeling like that's reciprocated enough, because not everybody is as skilled as fearful avoidance at noticing all of the nuances of the human experience and pulling information out of people when they're sometimes guarded or, holding back a little bit. And so sometimes what can take place is, you'll find yourself getting somebody to open up and share their emotional experiences. And then part of your connection will be built on a foundation of you just being there for them, but not actually having room to reciprocate that because you're not sharing real, truly vulnerable things about yourself. Maybe you share somewhat vulnerable things that you don't actually feel vulnerable about, but that real vulnerable stuff, you might find yourself holding back. Now, it also is something that should be built across time. Like, we don't have to be on a first date and share all of our deep, dark secrets and inner world with somebody right away. But generally, fearful avoidants are kind of on a mission to pull that out of other people. And for different reasons, right? Like, one of those reasons is that you're looking for emotional connection. Another one of those reasons is that context and transparency and feeling like you really know somebody actually tends to make you feel safe and like you can trust at a subconscious level. But again, what you want to make sure there's not the fine line into is that you don't cross this fine line into like, emotionally having that person be codependent on you or caretaking for that emotions, because romantic connection has a mutual support element, not a caretaking element that's one-sided. So really important boundary to pay attention to. Number 2, ease into spending time with people. This may feel counterintuitive if you're a fearful avoidant, because if things are going well, you might be like, I want to know this person right now, right away, so fast, so intensely. But that comes from all or nothing thinking, and all or nothing thinking patterns have downsides. All or nothing behavior patterns that follow all or nothing thinking patterns also have strong downsides. And what can often happen is that fearful avoidants will feel this connection or this spark, and they may sort of like hit the ground running and go 0 to 60 really fast. And if you're dating an anxious person, you'll then eventually feel really overwhelmed, most likely across time, like in the weeks to come, and feel like you need to pull back. And then that sudden shift that can be quite an extreme shift may cause the AP to be triggered and set off like all these sorts of patterns. And if you're with a DA, they may not want to move as quickly as you. And so they may feel kind of like they're the ones getting overwhelmed and you might feel anxious. And so dating has to be about vetting. It really has to be. And this is actually number 3. They sort of go hand in hand. Number 3 is that you have to take the appropriate amount of time to truly get to know somebody. And as much as you might get to know that the connection is good, the chemistry is good, the attraction is there, those are not the cornerstones of a healthy relationship. Those are like, you could call them like kind of like prerequisites in a way. Like, okay, like we connect, we have a great time, we click, things are going well, there's chemistry, we're attracted to one another. That's great. But the real foundation, the real like important stuff around dating is going to be, are your values aligned? Do you meet each other's standards for what's important to you? And are you compatible there? Can you work through things together? Can you have tough conversations? Do you know how to openly communicate and be vulnerable? Do you have healthy ways of working through conflict? Like, there is so much more to important dating than just those first few things that may act as a prerequisite. But that dating stage of a relationship, that time when you're still getting to know somebody before making a serious commitment, should be about trying to figure out how this person will be, because making the investment to commit to somebody in a relationship, that person's going to rub off on you a lot long term, and vice versa. And so that should be investigated in a way where you're actually taking time to vet somebody appropriately and to ask tough questions sometimes, and not all at once, but across time. And I actually have a full course all about this, by the way, that you can check out for free for 7 days. And it's like when to ask the tough questions, how often to text, how often to see each other in the dating stage of relationships. It answers a lot of those burning questions about dating. And it's called How to Master the Dating Stage of Relationships. And it also talks about how to remove like limiting beliefs about dating. If you are afraid to trust, or afraid to open up, or afraid to be vulnerable, or afraid that dating's such an annoying experience, or these limiting stories that people have. Like, I always hear people be like, dating's too much effort, dating's annoying, dating's frustrating. Well, then you may be looking at it the wrong way. And there may be some really important mindset shifts that can actually empower your experience a lot. We cover all that stuff in the course. And again, you can check it out all for free for 7 days using the link below. And it will also give you access to everything in PDS, all the 4 webinars I do every single week. You can come ask me your questions live on video, or you can type them in the chat if you don't want to be on video. We have daily community and social events where you can connect with other like-minded people who care about this stuff and who are growing and developing themselves. So there's lots of cool stuff to check out in there. If you want to have the experience, you can use the link below. And number 4, another really important boundary to set while dating is to communicate what your texting needs are with somebody. Sometimes I find that fearful avoidance can start off and they can kind of like, it's almost like their relationship to texting goes on autopilot. And fearful avoidants are kind of like, again, like all or nothing people. So they may be really interested in somebody over time, text a lot, and then, you know, kind of get involved in their own lives and get really present with whatever's in front of them, and then not be texting as much. And then that can cause problems, right? Or they can come on too strong with a more avoidant person early on. So by establishing like texting boundaries early on, and like asking how much other people like to text and communicate, sharing your texting habits, letting somebody know if you're somebody who loves texting in the dating stage, or if somebody who maybe you're somebody who's not that great with your phone, establishing those boundaries ahead of time and letting people know what to expect from you instead of just letting them project their expectations onto you will much more likely create a healthy texting relationship and experience as you're getting to know somebody, and also help you not feel pressured to like go beyond your own boundaries or needs. And also by understanding context for somebody else's texting habits, not personalize other people's behavior. And number 5 is to make sure that you are not building one-way connections. Okay. So number 1 and 5 are similar, but they're very different things, even though, like when you pay attention to the nuances. So number 1 was to not like be the caretaker of the relationship, right? To have boundaries around that. Number 5 is to make sure that you are not building a one-sided connection where it's about you meeting that person's needs, but you're not communicating and sharing your own needs, the things that are important to you, the dates you want to have, the places you want to go, the things you want to do, to make sure that you're not just like trying to please that person, and to make sure you're making room for yourself to take up space. And as you do that, it's going to empower you to feel seen and known and heard and understood in your relationships. And as you build out that connection, and if you don't communicate your needs, you don't share your boundaries, your feelings, your desires, if you're not doing that stuff, you're on a path, you're on a trajectory towards feeling unseen, unheard, like you don't matter, like you're misunderstood, like nobody's showing up for you, because you're not sharing that information, and people at the end of the day are not mind readers. So the more you share that and make space for that two-way street to happen when it comes to needs and feelings and like those things that really bring up deep connection for you, that will be huge in terms of boundary communication while dating. So I hope this all makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. If you have other things that are really important to you while dating, please let me know below. If you have questions, let me know below as well. And I would love to see you come into PDS, ask me questions on the webinars, and sort of learn more about you and your situation by using that link below. And thank you so much for being here. If you're enjoying this channel, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.